Hey guys, so today I filmed this sort of smoky cranberry eye. Before I put the lips on, it definitely wasn't as vampy. So if you wanted it to be a little bit more wearable for every day, then you could definitely just go with a more, neutral or nude colored lip. And I really liked it that way as well. But then to amp it up a little bit or to, make it something more nighttime, definitely a deeper lip will be good for that. So if you like this look and you want to see how to get it, then just stay tuned. Okay, so I'm going to start out using Naked, which is always my blend color, and I'm going to use a really fluffy brush. And I usually always start with this just because it's a color that works really well with my skin tone as a blend. So I'm just going to apply this back and forth through my crease, and then I'll gradually deepen the colors up as I go along. So just using small circles and windshield wiper motions to blend that out. And then I'm going to take Buck and a slightly tighter or more firm brush, and then this is going to go down in the crease next. So just gradually deepening my colors, going through it's going to give you a really nice soft gradient, and it's a great way to get a really nice soft blend if you're struggling with that and you feel like your eyeshadow has a tendency to be a little bit patchy. And then you'll see me just continue to work that color up. Back with the big fluffy brush, and I'm just going to go and soften up those edges a little bit more. I'm going to use this kind of rusty reddish brown color by Inglot, and I'm using that same brush that I just used, and then through the crease line with this as well, and then also concentrating that on the inner and outer corners. This is just going to be a really good transition color since we're doing a warmer eye, and I typically like to work with more matte colors through the crease as opposed to something with a lot of shimmer. And then a super rich chocolatey brown. This one's also by Inglot. And then this one is going to go in right at the lash line. And I'm kind of dragging that line up just a little bit just to help with the shape, to kind of help shape my eye. So just right along that upper lash line. And then I'm going to pull that through the outer corner as well and through the outer crease, forming kind of a V shape and just deepening up that outer edge. I'm going to pull that into the inner corner just a little bit as well, just so that I have a little bit more depth to my eye. And then just working on blending all of that out a little bit more. I'm going to use a small pencil brush in that same dark brown shade. And I'm going to put this on my lower lash line and just connect that to what I just laid down on the upper lash line. So you're going to see the shape kind of come through here, and then I'm just going to drag that completely across my lower lash line and then into the inner corner as well, just to give me a little bit more definition. And it's important to note that I haven't laid down my concealer yet. I have done my foundation, but not my under eye concealer. Anytime you're working with like reds and warm tones, you want to wait and do that last, because if you have any kind of warmth under your eye, you can look sick. I'm going to use this kind of cranberry red toned color. It's out of the Urban Decay Book of Shadows, which is the Alice in Wonderland. Maybe it's not Book of Shadows. I don't know. I'll check. But it's called Salazan Rum, and I just laid that on the lower lash line. And then I'm also going to pat and drag that through the upper lid as well. And if you want it to be a little bit more shimmery or have a little bit more color payoff, then you can wet your brush, and then that's going to give you maximum color payoff. But definitely start with patting the color down first and then rubbing it in just to kind of smooth that out. And I'm using a flat shader brush for this. I'm going to use Paradox out of that same palette, and this is kind of a really pretty shimmery orange color, and I'm just going to put that through the inner corner as a highlight. And using the Urban Decay 24/7 Glide-On Pencil in Perversion, which is just a black pencil. It's super soft, so I'm going to lay that on my inner rim, and then I'm also going to tightline. If you feel like you always have a gap between your lashes and where your eyeliner is, you might want to go in and tightline, which is just putting the liner on the underneath of your upper lashes as well. It goes a long way in making them look fuller. I'm going to go back in with a pencil brush and a deeper, almost black color called Time. It's a little bit shimmery, and that's just going to help to set it. And then I'm just going to lay down Makeup Forever's ink liner just in a really fine line on the top just to give a little bit more definition. And I decided not to do any kind of wing or cat eye today. I'm going to use my Kevin Aquan eyelash curler, which I do not like as much as I like my Shu Uemura one. I'm not sure what makes such a big difference, but it's just not my favorite. And then I'm going to use the Mirabella Lash Extend Fibers. And this is going to go on first just to help thicken my lashes a little bit. I'm not sure why, but I feel like they've gotten shorter or more sparse lately. And I'm pregnant, so I can't use any kind of Latisse or anything. And then I'm going to go in with their Real, which I think is by Benefit, and just coat my lashes with black mascara. I also don't love this mascara, but I always try to use my samples up, and I got it free from Sephora. I'm going to use the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. I love this stuff. I've had a little bit of an issue with creasing in my fine lines underneath my eyes with concealer recently. And this is one of the few concealers that I've tried recently where that hasn't been a huge issue. And then I just blend that out with a beauty blender. And sometimes I'll set it with a translucent powder. I've been using the No. 7 Boots translucent powder for that, and I really like that as well. So again, just cleaning up any of that mess that comes from the fallout. Anytime you do a warm color, always do your concealer lash, just because it's going to keep you from looking sick. And then that gives you a nice clean line too with your shadow. I'm going to use the Hoola bronzer by Benefit, and I've already contoured just a little bit, but I'm going to go through and bronze, and bronzer goes on the areas of the face that would typically be hit by the sun, so tops of the cheekbones, down the bridge of the nose, along the forehead, through the point of the chin. I just wanted to give myself a little bit more color since my eyes were a little bit deeper today. With my hair being lighter now too, I always like a little bit more color. Dragging that down onto my neck as well, and then taking the Becca Champagne Pop highlighter and just putting those on the highest points of my face, tops of my cheekbones, tips of my nose, basically the same places that I highlighted or that I bronzed before. All of the areas that you want the sun to catch. I always do my Cupid's bow a little bit too, just because that's a great way to make your lips look a little bit fuller. And then my brow bone as well. So you could be done with this and keep your lips a little bit softer and more natural. I decided to do something a little bit different, and I decided to go in with a deeper lip. So I went in with the Kat Von D Everlasting Lipstick, and that's in the color Exorcism. It's a really dark berry kind of color. And I'm going to start laying this down, and I'm going to use the tip of the applicator to trace out my lip line. It took what felt like 20 minutes to do my lips today. With these dark colors, you really have to have the time to go in and fill them in and make sure that everything's nice and neat. So just tracing everything out, and then you can go back in and fill in the spots after. And then I'm going to speed it up just a little bit because, like I said, it took me forever to do my lips. This definitely isn't your typical summer look, but I do love like a bold eye and a bold lip, so this would be something that would be great for fall. I'm definitely ready for cooler temperatures, so that's probably why I was craving a more fall-inspired look. So that is going to be the completed look. I hope you guys like it. Like I said, if you don't like the dark lip, then you can switch it out for something more nude. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Give me a thumbs up and find me on Instagram and Facebook. Thanks for watching.